Every night is the Rangers Journal night.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are. This is the Lowdown. My name is Doug, and you're watching the Rangers Journal YouTube channel. I'm here again to give you the lowdown on our upcoming fixture against Nice in the Europa League tomorrow night on Thursday. And this comes off the back of a very disappointing draw against Dundee United in the league, where we could have gained some more points with Aberdeen having lost. As we all know, Rangers can be a totally different beast in the Europa League and tend to play significantly better. So hopefully that will be the case again, and we can see something more positive in the coming games. Our upcoming team that we'll be playing, Nice, recently had a bit of a concerning time with their manager. He was taken to the emergency room with severe headaches. He has thankfully been passed as healthy and will be in the dugout for the game. So I'm happy to hear that he is doing well, as obviously we want all people healthy. But we'll find out that not all their players are at 100% as we go through the team in a little bit. So first up, how we look at the current form of the two clubs. As I say, Rangers, 2 draws and 2 wins in the past 4, including that most recent draw against Dundee United and our draw against Olympiacos. Nice have the same record, 2 wins and 2 draws. They draw most recently in the Europa League with FC Twente and have a couple of wins in their Ligue 1 appearances there. In terms of the how the teams are doing in their respective leagues, we're obviously sitting currently in 3rd behind Aberdeen and Celtic. Nice currently sitting around about 5th, or currently sitting 5th with 20 points out of 12. Ourselves 23 out of 12. So we're kind of in kind of similar areas league-wise. Nice over the last decade have been a team who tend to fluctuate either in the kind of lower 10 areas or in the kind of slightly upper areas between kind of 3 and 5 in terms of league position. So they're kind of a slightly bigger team, and well, not one of the biggest, but to have a tendency to yo-yo slightly, but always kind of keep in that sort of top 10 of the league area. In terms of our historical head-to-head, we haven't played Nice since the 1950s when we met in the Champions League. That was a period where you would play third matches if the first 2 legs didn't result in a winner, and that was exactly what happened when we played Nice. And we played them in the October, where Rangers were victorious 2-1. But then Nice won the reverse tie, also 2-1, leading to a third leg in the November, where Nice unfortunately came out victorious 3-1 in that game. So it's been quite a while since we played Nice in a competitive match. I'm not sure if there's been any friendlies or anything in between. There wasn't anything that came off the top of my head, but that's certainly the last time we met them competitively. So what can we expect to see from Nice when they are playing? They tend to set up in a kind of either 4-3-3 or 3-4-3 style formation. They are very positive and attacking. They're incredibly good at creating chances through balls. They've got some really good passers from the midfield that feed their attacking players, particularly their sort of wider forwards. And they've also profited a fair bit from stealing the ball in the midfield, quickly turning and making those sort of incisive passes or counter-attacks. They like to primarily attack through that kind of middle section with those sort of wider forwards moving inwards towards the ball. And they take a lot of shots where they can, peppering the goal. In terms of weaknesses, they're not so good at avoiding offsides, and they do make the occasional individual error, so there are some things that we could potentially profit from there. They've got a lot of goals in their midfield. Every single one of their midfield players has at least a goal, and most of them have some assists in there as well from those 3 balls that I've mentioned. And they will run at us, I think, with that aim to put us under pressure and make those shots. They have a hugely experienced centre-back in Dante, who I'm sure many of you will have heard of. He's still playing well into his late 30s or maybe even early 40s now, I think. And from what I saw, looking at some of their previous league games and some of their previous Europa League games, their goalkeeper does look a little bit suspect at his near post. They lost a couple of goals there, so So I think that could be something that the players could take a look at and try and get some shots in on the goalkeeper in that area. We are not so great at taking shots from the edge of our box. I think we want to see more of that, and that could be something that could see us profit in this game if we take the opportunity. In terms of Nice danger men, I'm going to highlight one of those sort of wide forwards, Evan Goussant. Forgive me if I mispronounced that. He's a young player. He's about 23. He's come up through the Nice youth system. He has had a period out on loan to Nantes as well, where he played well. And he has 6 goals this season and 2 assists. And I think he's a strong player with potential to cause trouble if we don't keep an eye on him. You see there in terms of creating 11 chances. His passing accuracy, however, is only 77%, so you can see that as one of his weaker parts of his game. He's more likely to drive with the ball. He can play through balls reasonably well in terms of his sort of within that weaker kind of passing ability. And he's not always the best at holding onto the ball. If in having to wait for players, again, they tend to try and launch quick attacks for players to run into and shoot quickly. And long shots are something that he's particularly good at, as well as his defensive contribution to the team as a whole. So he is, I think, an exciting young player and one that could go far. So we'll see what happens with him. We'll see how he fares in this game. And as I say, someone I think we need to keep an eye on in the Nice attack. In terms of ourselves and the team to face up this match, I think a lot of positions really pick themselves and have been picking themselves of late. But I would like to see a couple of changes for this game. I would like to see Danilo get the opportunity to start. I think he's been looking bright when he comes on as a sub, and there needs to be a point where we take the chance to play him from the beginning and give him the run out and the larger chunk of the minutes, 60 at least, before maybe taking him off for Dessus if need be. I think he has more attributes in terms of movement and creativity with the players around him, and that could be of great use, particularly in European matches. On that line, I would like to see Hadji start and see his skills put to the fore for a game in Europe as well. We all know how effective Hadji has been in European matches in the past when he was at his best, and I'd like to see him get back to that. He's just come off of a really good international period where he scored a couple of goals, so his confidence should be high, and I think that's a great time to throw him in and give him the opportunity to show what he can do creatively. Him, Bajrami, Cherney and Danilo, I think, could be a really effective play group for interplay, which is something we don't really get much of. We don't really pass the ball around the edge of the box anymore. We don't really sort of knock it about quickly. And it's something I think we need to get back to doing to cause teams more trouble. With that in mind, I'm going to pick Hadji as my potential game changer for this match. If I'm honest, I think it would probably be from the bench. I'm not sure that Clement would start him as much as I would like to see him do that and give him the opportunity to really kickstart his season with a strong performance in a European match. He has 16 goals and 22 assists in his Rangers career. Obviously, the bulk of those came in that 2020-21 season where we won the league. When Hadji was at his best, he was a key component of that team. He did score, as I say, a number of goals and assists in that season. And if we can get Hadji back to that kind of level, then obviously he could become a key player for the team. And even if not, if we could just get him back to playing well, then Hadji is an asset, a sellable asset that we could use to potentially bring players in that Clement wants to improve the team in the way that he sees fit. He hasn't always seemed the biggest fan of Hadji, but right now, given the way the results are going, I don't think we can afford to turn our nose up at a player who has shown the levels of creativity he has in the past. There's a lot of strong opinions about him, whether he's any good or not, and a lot of those are based on memories from quite a while ago now. So we really need to see, I think, Hadji given some solid game time and the ability to prove to us that he can be the player that I think he can be, and also the player I think that he thinks he can be. I also think there's a mentality aspect to this as well. He's a player who has always shown his love for the club. Obviously, his infamous Ibrox baby coat that made many fans fall in love with him in the first place was born out of that sort of love between the stands and himself. And I believe if we can get that kind of passion throwing through the team, then again, you'd see an improvement in overall play and performances. So I'm going to say Hadji is a potential game changer, whether that's from the start or the bench. Hopefully he can come on, and I'm going to peg him to score a goal as well. So having looked at all that, where am I sitting for this game? I think Nice are a solid side. They've not had the best of form of late, however. They are currently sitting. They haven't lost in 5 matches, but they are drawing games. They're a good team, but they're not always the best team. They are still adapting to their new manager. Coming into this game, they've got up to 8 players who are out, either injured or, in the case of regular starters, Bombito and Diop, suspended. I've also read reports today that the defender I mentioned, Dante, and other player Boga, who I believe is also a regular starter, both did not train today in anticipation of the match. So that could be 2 other players potentially out for them. That's a lot of players missing from their team. And we also have, of course, a few injury concerns ourselves. Tom Lawrence out, Robbie Matondo, Oscar Cortez, and Cassan Virgil. The thing with our team is, a lot of our players are playing regularly. We have had Yilmaz come back recently, which is positive. So I don't think that we are as badly impacted by that. We do play better in Europe, and I think that this is a game that we can look to get a result from. A win would be a really big result for us in this game. It would continue our push on in the Europa League and move us more towards that potential to qualify for the next round, with 2 of our toughest games coming up after this. Nice are also looking, I think, to get a win. They will be really pushing. I think they will have earmarked this game as one to get full points in, as it's a home game. They haven't played the best in Europa League, although they have got some decent results in terms of draws. But they really want to get 3 points on the board to really kickstart their Europa League season and give them the push for qualification. So from that point of view, I think both teams will be interested in going for it. However, I think we maybe have the advantage in that we maybe don't need to push quite as hard as them, having won 2 of our games already. But if we can come away with a victory, as I say, it will really set us up to kind of go in and more just enjoy the Tottenham Man U games, regardless of the outcomes, and then push for a final victory in our game against Union at home at the end of the initial campaign. Coming away from a draw would be a perfectly respectable result as well, and that's what I'm going to go with, a 1-1 draw with Agi goal for us. I think that we can come away from that feeling quite good and looking, as I say, positively ahead to the rest of the Europa League campaign. Thank you for joining me on the Lowdown, looking at Nice for our upcoming game. You'll see more from the Rangers Journal channel every night, and we've got plenty to be talking about at the moment, with many things happening. I've got a new CEO now finally entered the door, and we will be and have been talking about that. So please check out the channel for pods about that, as well as obviously the upcoming games, pre and post matches. And it's been Doug. You've been watching the Lowdown, and please remember that every night is a Rangers Journal night.